audio is
Good morning, everyone, distinguished guests, especially our guests, Ms. Tecla Evans slash Mukoni, founder of Glam Collections, Director Homec Investments, Mr. Percy Raditladi, and Thabo Molefe, the founder and MD of Earth Vitamins. I was asking if it's vitamins or vitamins. And they're telling me that it depends from...
I think it depends on where you went to school.
Yeah, where you went to school. I didn't go to Marapula, so I would say vitamins or vitamins. And also to our distinguished viewers and followers on various social media platforms. Let me take this opportunity to welcome you to the July 2020 edition of our famous opening bell ceremony. At which ceremony we are going to be facilitating a short discussion with our graduates of CPD Mentorship Program 2019 in terms of how they are conducting business during the COVID-19 pandemic. And what effects are they experiencing in terms of their respective businesses. And it will also tap in them in terms of what they've been able to utilize, which they benefited from the CPD mentorship programs. But as it is the norm, we will start with the update of the market in terms of trading levels, so activity in the stock market. Between January, when the market opened, to end of June, which is June 30, the total turnover was about 363.8 million pula worth of shares, and that translates into a daily average turnover of about 2.9 million pula. You can see that trading levels have subdued, or they have declined, mainly because of COVID, and not a lot of people are actually trading on the market. Last year, I think we are averaging around 7.5 million pula per day, but our historic high levels is about 12.5 million pula worth of shares traded every day. The market capitalization, which is the size of the stock market in Botswana, is about 393 billion pula, composed of about 24 companies, domestic companies, 8 foreign companies, 1 Sarala registration, which is BBS, and we also have a bond market worth about 19.3 billion. You realize that the debt market continues to increase. This clearly shows that companies are tapping into the market, because in the last opening bell, we reported that as of March 2020, the debt level or the bond market was about 18.3 billion. But now, as of June, we can see it increased by 1 billion. It's 19.3 billion. The good news is that we can see both government and corporates borrowing into the market. So the corporate bonds, which is borrowing by private sector entities, is about 5.3 billion pula, and government borrowing in the stock market have reached 14 billion pula. So it is good news to us in the stock market, because it shows that the debt market is growing. In terms of trading levels, especially for the government bonds, although it still trades outside the stock exchange, it reached about 394.2 million pula, which is, I think, several millions more than the trading levels last year. And the corporate bonds, they traded only 1.6 million. So this brings the total trading in the bond markets to 395.8 million pula. You can see that in terms of crisis, in terms of pandemics, there seem to be more trading and more activity in the bond market. This is the trend that we are seeing in other countries. There are several reasons to this. One of the reasons is that because interest rates are low, it becomes cheaper to borrow. and therefore it's an incentive brought about by the pandemic. Although it's not a good news, but I think it's one of the positive things that we see in the market. Today we have three guests who participated in the CPD mentorship program. As the BSE in 2019, we invited companies to apply to be mentored so that they learn about the stock market in the medium to long term with a view to ultimately list in the stock market. Out of about 100 plus, applications, we only managed to stream down to about 18 who successfully made it to the programs. And the three people that, or the three companies represented today, are 3 out of the 18 companies that participated in the program. This is still part and parcel of the hand-holding or the mentorship program that we conducted, and the view is to give them the platform to share with us how they're able to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. You realize that there are a number of measures that have been put up by the government of Botswana to try to deal with the consequences of the pandemic. This result in terms of the salary reliefs, the tax incentives that were offered. But I think us at the BSE will do everything in our powers to try as much as possible to elevate all stakeholders in our periphery. This includes the people who are hosting today. With all those few welcome remarks, let me take this opportunity to welcome the three guests we have today, and I'm going to be having or facilitating a discussion with them. And I'll start firstly with Mr. Percy Raditladi, and to give him about 30 to 40 seconds to give us a brief background of himself and his company. What does the company do? Where is it based? What goods and services does it provide? And which industry is it in? I'll hand over to Mr. Percy Raditladi for about 40 seconds.
Yes, my name is Percy Raditladi. I started my career as a Botswana-sponsored student and established Yarona FM, the first radio station, in 1999 after Botswana allowed me to move into the private sector. I briefly worked for KBL and also G4S in Botswana, in Ecuador, a city called Quito, and also in Nigeria. And I worked in the sports industry. I'm currently involved in businesses, especially as a human resources consultant and project manager for various new projects. Homec Investment is Botswana's first Verimax franchisee, which started in May 2011. It has Verimax stores at Airport Junction Mall, Game City Mall, and is also a regional representative for Verimax in Botswana in Game Stores and Builders Warehouse in Gaborone and Francistown. It is also an agent for vehicle tracking for Bidvest subsidiary called BidTrack, and is also associated with Rep Office World, which is a 30-year-old stationery business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raditladi. I've known Mr. Raditladi for many years now, and he's one of the Botswana I know who are heavily involved in businesses around the country. And it's good that he's of the view that in the medium to long term, most of or some of his businesses will ultimately come to list in the market. We really appreciate. I think I'll bring up on board now the lady on the panel, Tecla Evans Mokone, to give us a brief description of what is his business doing, where is it based, what is his background in business, and how did he form this company? Tecla is very young. I think she's in her ladies doesn't like ages, in her early 20s. Are you early 20s or you have reached 40s? Tecla, you don't have to disclose the age, but you can just talk about the business. Tecla.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. My name is Thapelo, and fellow graduates of the TPD Mentorship Program, Mr. Percy and Mr. Thabo Molefe, and all our viewers, good morning, and it's a great pleasure to be with you on this platform today. My name is Tecla Evans, and I'm the owner-director of Glam Collections, a home textile manufacturing company which I started from my passion of white linen while I was studying for my bachelor's degree in finance at the University of Botswana. Prior to starting Glam Collections, I worked in the financial sector with various organizations. Having started my business as a distribution agent, I later ventured into the manufacturing of home textiles. That is your duvet covers, your sheets, your banqueting linen, and curtains. Through my hard work and many years in the home textile industry, I have managed to build a strong brand that today supplies the hospitality, the healthcare, education, households, and the retail sectors. This has led to the government enrolling Glam Collections into the Export Development Program, a program under the Botswana Investment and Trade Center designed to help local companies to grow to reach export levels. I have also served as the youth sector chairperson at Business Botswana, and I'm a committee member of the Botswana Textile and Clothing Association. And last year, I was nominated to be a board member of the Botswana National Youth Council. I'm scared of fire.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tecla. I think we really appreciate young people like you who have been in business for almost a decade now, 10 years, and you are still surviving. You are still pushing very hard. I think you are now at a time where you should be also mentoring other young business women who are entering business to share with them your experiences and also your tips in how you manage to survive more than 10 years consistently in the business. I think I'll go to Mr. Thabo Molefe, the Bilton man. We eat a lot of his Bilton in Air Botswana and around. I think he's a very passionate gentleman. We interact a lot. Thabo, I think you can just start with a brief description of yourself and then your business, and how did you start the business in the first place, and how did you come up with this idea of F vitamins?
Thank you very much, Tsheole and the Botswana Stock Exchange team. I'm forever grateful for your support as an organization, for the Botswana government support, local enterprise authority, as well as BITC. Without your constant assurances and support, we wouldn't be where we are as an organization that is trying to traverse these very rough waters. To give you a Thabo Molefe, I am a graduate of business administration with a specialism in marketing, as well as a master's in sales and change management from University of Metropolitan Leeds. I have come from corporate Botswana. I've been instrumental in building sales models for most of the corporate organizations in Botswana, such as Orange, Stanbic, First National Bank, as well as Barclays. And, I've started off on the entrepreneurial journey when I was bitten by the bug and quit my job as head of sales and come into what we call the dirty streets. And it's been an interesting journey. I think I formed a company called F Vitamins, which sole purpose was to be a flagship food production company of the country, with a current specialism in beef and beef products. The reason why we went for beef and beef products is because beef and cattle ranching is a passion of Botswana. And we wanted to be an outlet and avenue for Botswana to be able to profit properly from, a passion that is born of this nation. And we, in the process, have tried to corporatize that environment, in that we are the #1 suppliers of biltong in the country now. And we are also, in the advanced plans to export outside of the country. We've got a good 30 employees, and we happen to be growing on a daily basis if COVID doesn't knock us out of our beds. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the three of you for very good insight in terms of what your businesses do, how you came about. Now we are here. 2020 started off as a good year in terms of the way it sounds, because it's 2020. January to March, and then a virus is said to have started somewhere in China, and all of a sudden there are lockdowns, there's no travel, there's all sorts of mixed up, and the consequences are felt within the business. I just want to get a view in terms of how the COVID managed or have affected your businesses, and how have you changed the way you do business. Are there any opportunities that also were created for your businesses, or what are the issues that really need to you are taking into consideration to deal with the virus? What measures have you taken as businesses? Have you put in place to survive during these trying times? I'll start with you, Thabo, now, and then go in reverse order.
Okay. First of all, obviously these are highly challenging times for all businesses worldwide, vitamins included. I must first of all thank the government for also coming through with initiatives that have helped us sort of like cushion the blows, such as the wage subsidies and all other factors that they are putting into place. As a business, we are predominantly focused on projects such as feeding programs for schools and all of those things. So obviously with school shutdowns, we had already made plans to supply and gotten into purchase agreements with farmers, and we were unable to get stock off, and we in the end faced huge amounts of losses. But as business people, we learn to live with all the challenges that we come across. But predominantly what COVID has done for us is they have sort of like catalyzed what we wanted to do always, which is to now go towards more of a direct sales kind of a market, instead of basing it off on maybe contracts and your big scale. So we've seen our uptake of online services go up, home deliveries, etc., etc. So it's gone up, and it has really brought forward quickly what we've always intended to do, which was to diversify our product portfolio from the current contract, government and parastatal led, to a more retail and a direct sales footing. Using media, social media. We've just created a brand new app, which is the Earth Vitamins app. You can have it on Play Store, which will be an end-to-end food delivery services, and you can view our products there, and then you can get them straight to your home. So it has given us another avenue or income stream, which we hope that we will keep on. We keep investing on it so that it grows. We actually uptook our products by close to 90% from the direct sales field, and that's the lesson that we've learned from COVID, while we are trying to stay alive.
Oh, that's so brilliant. So Thabo, to be more direct, let me say I want sehwapa hela. I mean, in simpler terms, what do? I want sehwapa, or I want 10 kg of meat, or one of your products. So what is the best way to get them now? You go to the app, you have phone, or what happens?
Well, we're giving you a variety of platforms. First of all, you can download the app and then follow simple steps on it and choose a product, and we deliver. Or you can quickly WhatsApp us, or we can give us a call. We obviously prefer the application, the app functionality, because it also allows us to bring better service to you in terms of remembering, your orders, your special days and things like that, and from a planning perspective. So we've got a plethora of services with emphasis on the fact that you don't have to leave your home or your office. You will find the product at home.
Yeah, great. There you go, guys. You can see the innovations brought about by the consequences of the COVID-19. Download the app, order your sohwapa, and it will be delivered. I mean, congratulations on that, Thabo. Let me go to Tecla. Tecla, you are mainly in the learning business. And I just want to know that it's COVID now. Majority of the businesses have been affected by the pandemic. Sales probably majority of the businesses are down. There's a lot of innovation in terms of strategizing as companies in terms of what you can do. In your line of business or at Glam Collections, how have you been able to navigate the pandemic?
Thank you. Very true. The textile sector, as all other sectors, was impacted by the pandemic, with demand having come to a complete halt globally, with the entire value chain impacted as both manufacturing firms and retail stores closing down. Botswana was certainly no exception, with the lockdown forcing some of the giant textile firms to close down as the borders were not open for export of non-essential products. The rest of the sector faced many challenges as there was no buying power, and eventually when mass production started, many had no access to raw materials as the stores were closed. At Glam Collections, we faced similar challenges. Our main clients are within the hospitality sector, and due to the pandemic shutting down the tourism sector, that meant our side of business also came to a halt too. We also had raw materials which were stuck in transit. We import our materials from as far as Pakistan. So those were stuck in transit due to the lockdown. And of course, movement of staff also a challenge for us. However, despite all these challenges, we saw an opportunity as the healthcare sector needed hospital linen. The demand for masks also posed a great opportunity for us, helping us to stay afloat during the difficult time. And I'm happy to say our production has increased, and our human capital has increased more. The closure of borders and logistics delays also provided an opportunity as clients who would normally procure from across the border were compelled to look locally for their products. So that has been the positive side to all this.
Okay, that's great. So the closing of borders helped majority of the people to make local orders, and therefore domestic production, employment, and all the other benefits trickled down. I think that's very good. And also, Tecla, a simple question: mask production. Did you make money,
yes,
or are you making money? Yes or no?
We are. It's helping us stay afloat because, like I said, our main clientele is the hospitality sector. So with all the hotels and lodges shut down, it means we can't do business with them. But the mask came in and helped us to stay afloat. So we've been doing that to help the business stay afloat.
Yeah, I mean, in mask production, Tecla, how have you been able to take advantage of the mass demand within a very short period of time? Because this is temporary, I guess, and therefore you need to maximize profits as quickly as possible. I mean, if you give us an example, how many masks were you producing in one day? How have you been able to increase that, and to what levels?
When we started, we had an order of over 10,000 masks, which we had to produce within a week. So I had to take the opportunity that was given to me. I had to increase my human capital. I had to increase the machinery that I had. We had to work 24-hour shifts to be able to produce these masks. And it was not only that particular client, other orders were also coming through. So yes, it has been a busy time for us, and we had to strategize and see how best we can actually deliver these to our clients.
Okay, that's commendable for an SME. to actually realize the potential that, we need to upscale when there is demand to work 24 hours instead of only working 8 to 5 when you know that there is a business opportunity that is presenting itself. And it's good that we are able to take advantage of that. I'll go to Mr. Raditladi, Percy. I mean, you are a businessman for a very long time. And we are here in terms of the crisis, and possibly maybe for you, you have experienced even two or so more crises in your business life. The 2009, before that you are still in business, and now the COVID-19 pandemic. How have you been able to navigate through the challenges presented by the pandemic? And how have you been able to make sure that you put measures in place to still remain afloat?
Thank you, sir. During the lockdown, it has given us time to think strategically, and there's been some positive changes as well. There's been some subsidies from the government. Shopping malls gave us a reduction in rentals, and we've seen some changes. With closing down of borders, we've seen a huge rise in local sales. We've actually seen over 50% increase in sales for very much stores, which shows that there's now local business support and the money is circulating locally. Some of the retail business sectors that were in a tight position now are on a recovery. One of the things that we learned during lockdown was that indeed turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. We learned a lot about cash, which is money that flow into and out of our bank accounts. We learned that nothing will bring your ego down to earth faster than cash flow crisis, which causes stress. Just before lockdown, we met as a team and with our employees to debate whether to supply orders for rep or put funds in reserve for a crisis. And we opted not to go for the orders and reserve the funds to survive. And with that, we managed to get back without much stress. So one of the things that while there is a plan to assist businesses to borrow from the banks through Botswana Export Credit Insurance to finance the businesses, it seems banks are skeptical, but we will see how far it goes with time. Our plan right now is just to focus on turnaround plans of surviving and adapting to change, as we are seeing that our government may be under severe stress as impact on economy by COVID-19. What I have learned is to survive. It has taught us the need for agility. The key learning for both businesses, which the team has said here, is to invest in virtual capability in two fronts, being online platforms, online payment getaways, such that businesses can run with or without lockdown. COVID can only be faulted once, but it should be viewed as a transforming to business and no longer as a negative thing. Because for us, the positive of COVID is technology uptake that each business has to adopt. A business that entirely depends on brick and mortar store will most likely perish due to customers switch and expectation to be offered online. So for us, online technology is the new norm and ought to be embraced by all businesses. It can no longer be an excuse to closing down each and every business on account of a physical lockdown. We now need to invest in upskilling employees to have agile thinking to predict the future of business and the sort of channels or route to market to employ during these times. So finally, my view is that businesses have to plan and cater for continuity that factors in COVID-19 as something of our daily lives.
Thank you to all the three of you. I think to just remind ourselves, these are some of the graduates of the Botswana Stock Exchange CPD mentorship program that we conducted last year. And we'll also be continuing with the program, I think, in the coming year. And we're randomly selected. It's not that all the three were selected based on the fact that they are still doing profits during COVID, but they were just randomly selected in terms of to share with them, to discuss with them the way forward in terms of how the present situation affected their businesses. And it gives us great pleasure at the BSE to realize that the people that we wanted to uplift in terms of business are doing well now. So I think it's a step in the right direction. And this is a program that the BSE is just doing without making them to pay for it, just imparting the skills to them, and also not necessarily forcing them to list now, but to consider listing in the medium to long term. And I'm happy that now they are not able not only to present themselves very well as business people, because you can see these are 100% citizen-owned companies doing well during a pandemic. So you can really see where they come from and where they are going. So we really encourage all of you to go out there and buy their products, support their products as much as you can. I think in closing, I'm going to need about one sentence or two from the three of you in terms of you went through the CPD mentorship program last year. We have been in close contact with yourselves over a period of time. How were you able to utilize the skills that you learned from CPD mentorship program since you graduate, not necessarily during the pandemic? I'll start with Tecla now. One or two sentences. How have you been able to utilize the skills that you learned from CPD to run your businesses up to date? Tecla.
Yes, thank you. I think for me, the CPD mentorship program was a great reminder that there are alternate ways of raising capital for businesses, including us in the SME sector. We got to learn a lot in terms of conditions for listing, but it was also a check for us to see our compliance side, to understand the various roles played by corporate governance and the relationship between the company and the board of directors. Still on corporate governance, we had key takeaways, especially on various roles, composition of the board and succession plan, with which most of us SMEs do not have. Something that even if we are not ready to list, it is important for businesses to actually look into. So in that respect, the TMP was actually quite useful.
Thank you, Tecla, and thank you very much for participating today. I'll go to Mr. Percy Raditladi. 2 or 3 sentences.
I learned a lot on corporate governance and also diversifying and working with the team. And right now, I've just got involved some young Botswana, who is now the managing director for the companies, and we work together. And I've got enough time now because I learned a lot of what to do, how to do things, how to comply, how to do audit, and ensuring that the companies are complying. So the program really taught me a lot that some of these things that we think are for big companies, we must also do them in small businesses. So that is now making the businesses much more able to know how far they are.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raditladi, and thanks for sharing your knowledge, your skills, and for always keeping constant touch with the BSE. I know since you graduated from the program, you have been also in touch with the BSE program, team in a variety of ways, and I think we really appreciate it from the BSE perspective. And lastly, I'll hand to Thabo. Thabo.
Yeah, as a result of the CPD program, we've been able to realign our value system as a company to that of corporate etiquette that actually can make us investor ready. So, from an accounting perspective, we know that for the next 3 years, what it is that has to be done, and we've put that into how we operate on a daily basis. Because ultimately, as an entrepreneur, is to get your company to be cash flow sufficient. Currently, we struggle because of cash flow, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And your program, as CPD, has taught us that we must aspire to get people with proper amounts of cash to come in and assist.
Thank you very much. We are going to close now because the market is opening. Let me thank all our viewers, all our service providers, BSE staff, management board, and all our stakeholders who are always standing ready to support. But more especially, a lot of thanks goes to to the three guests, Ms. Tecla Evans, Mr. Percy Raditladi, Mr. Thabo Molefe, and we'll keep on interacting together. And therefore, from the BSE perspective, we'll still contribute to the economy by teaching businesses, no matter how small they are, in terms of all the other developmental tactics to uplift their businesses. Because ultimately, as a player in the economy, that is how we contribute to the economy. And to all our viewers, I will say, put on the masks as is required, as always. Sanitize as much as you can, and be safe. With all that, I'll ring the bell and then close, open the market, but close the opening. Thank you.
Thank you.
For that.